beginning, we're all beginners, it's,
Mhm.
and then, no one should dog you for trying. Trying is literally like the best thing you can do. If
Mhm.
anything, I love people that try. Just go out of your comfort zone. That's how you grow.
What is the most important thing we should learn from people who are struggling with a chronic illness or a life-threatening circumstances, but do it with positivity?
Wow. That's a heavy one. Um, Give me a second. I want to give a good answer to this.
Yeah, man, take your time.
Um, don't let your obstacles define you. Many
Ooh, that's good.
people focus on the destination rather than the journey to try and make it simple. But you know, no one really sees the struggle behind the curtains, and
Yeah,
everyone focuses on the end product. And I think it's the struggle behind the curtains that really make you who you are. So when you
yeah.
see someone with a chronic illness, don't look at them for like what they are, but like really try and hone in on all the exercises they're doing, the things
Mhm.
they're overcoming, and yeah, it'll give you some insight into their life, something
No,
like
I
that.
love that. No, I love that. And I think that's so important because, people, I think, so my wife has a chronic illness. It's actually how I got to know DDPY so well, or DDP so well. My wife and I are actually doing his program for fun, right?
I
And she's
love
doing
that.
it stretching, and she's lost like 8 or 9 pounds already, and she's all that's going great. Um, but one of the things that we talked about is this element of resilience, like this I'm not giving up mentality, right? And we also talked about the importance of not letting things become our identity. Like you can become your, whatever you're struggling with. I can become the fact that I was a divorced person one day, or the fact that I used to be homeless. Like I could stay in that state, or I could say, nah, I think I got a better life ahead of me, right? So that's kind of the goal behind everything that I see you doing. One of the things that I think you did automatically that was so inspiring to me and so many other people is the fact that you kind of, for lack of a better word, you went in the shed, right? You went into yourself and discovered that you have incredible. And guys, when I say incredible, all you've got to do is Google search this guy and watch him play. Like at a very young age, we're talking savant level guitar playing and musician. Yeah, you should check it out for sure. How did you discover that for yourself? I mean, how did you discover that healing portion of music and whatnot?
It was pretty crazy because I was in middle school, I was in jazz band playing saxophone, and I didn't really have a way to properly communicate how I felt, things like that. I was already doing Healing Tyler. I had my kidney illness. I
Mm-hmm.
already felt alienated. And then I always grew my hair out in middle school. Then one day someone was like, "Yo, it's Jimi Hendrix." And I was like, what is that? I went home, I searched up a video of Jimi Hendrix. First thing I saw was him setting his guitar on fire. And I was like, oh my God. And the rest is sort of history. Ever since then, guitar's been with me. It's how I express myself universally. And it's
Mm-hmm.
I'm just honored when people listen and they're like, wow, this really helped me in this situation, just listening to your tunes. And I'm like, wow, that's what I was trying to do. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, no, it's totally beautiful. And for those of you who don't know, I'll make the comparison because you made it first, right? Now, not because of the afro, but because the guitar playing is incredible. I mean, I can only assume that you put thousands of hours into learning that instrument, but also getting lost in that instrument. I mean, I get lost in making content. I just enjoy it so much and using it to help people. Is it safe to assume that that's what you're doing as well? You're getting lost in the music?
Basically,
Yeah.
you get it. You get it.
Cool beans. Well, now it's as if being an amazing musician isn't enough. I stumbled across an older video of you doing some jujitsu with Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
So number one, that's one heck of an opportunity to get to spar with her. Number two, what did that experience teach you?
It was an eye opener for me. I think mainly because at the time I was doing jujitsu for about 5 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I was always doing adult classes, and it was mainly just like sweaty old men. So I was only used to that. And then my dad's like, "Hey, we're gonna roll with Ronda Rousey today," and this is like the first girl I've ever seen in a kimono, and I didn't really know how to react. And my sister's right there, and it just really threw me off. Then the first thing she did was hip throw me, and just like that, she was part of the game.
Yeah.
She was like that. But it was a really crazy eye opener. She's insane. She got me in an armbar, of course,
Mm-hmm.
naturally,
Yeah.
and it was just crazy. My sister videotaped it all and showed all her friends and was like, "Yeah, that's right, Tyler."
Yeah.
It was crazy.
No, I love those experiences because, it's crazy to think that experiences that challenge you also can create you. And for those who don't know, I actually want to dig into the kidney disorder if we can, and have you articulate what it is, why it's threatened your life a few times, and then maybe some of the most pivotal things on the optimistic side, right, that you've learned from the experience.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So I have a kidney illness called nephrotic syndrome. I've had it since I was about 18 months. And basically, to put it really short, my body pees out the good stuff and keeps in the bad stuff. So
Hmm.
my kidney's filtering system shuts on and off.
Yeah.
So sometimes it results in my body swelling up in excess fluid. I gain 15 to 30 pounds and my face blows up like a blowfish. I can't fit my jeans. I have to go to the hospital. They have to pump me up with a bunch of medications and things like that nature. We call that a
Mhm.
relapse. It's one of
Yeah.
the side effects of nephrotic syndrome.
Hmm.
I have to take a lot of immunosuppressant medicine. I just have to
Yeah.
take a lot of just medicine in general. And, it's like I said, I think for my guitar answer, I spent a lot of time as a young adult, like in middle school, elementary school, just in the hospital,
Hmm.
um, with 15 to 30 pounds of excess fluid, just wondering, how am I going to get out of this? Is this going to define me? How do I tell my friends? And yeah, that's when finding a passion really came. That was one of the most pivotal things for me, not having my chronic illness define me, having something to do, and just being able to be honest with myself so I can express that outwards and be something for someone who's maybe in a similar position and hasn't found something yet.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that keep me going.
No, I love that. It's interesting to me. My audience has heard me say this literally 1,000 times. They probably don't want me to say this again, but I've discovered the greatest purpose in life you'll ever have is serving the person you used to be. But in order to do that, you go through a situation where you're in the process of becoming, and the process of becoming is often painful.
It's
It's
crazy.
it's often without answers, right? It's often with searching. Is it safe to assume that when you discovered your personal outlet of jujitsu and music as a whole, is it safe to say that you didn't know at the time that you would one day be using that to change the world?
Yeah, I had no idea. I still like am in awe of like when people message me like, "Yo, Tyler, I just started jujitsu. I love it," and I'm like, "Wow, I, this is crazy. This is
Yeah.
really crazy."
Now, what? No. So let's think about this. What do you think it is that is taking that aspect and creating an inspirational path for people to follow in your footsteps and do some of the similar things that you do? Because you have such a humble spirit about you, and a lot of times those that fall into jiu-jitsu early on are more on the I've got to prove myself mentality. But I've had a couple of people on that are very high level in the jiu-jitsu martial arts specifically. And it's interesting to me that all three of them so far, including yourself, are just very humble people. What creates that? What is it
Well,
about jujitsu that forces humility?
well, yeah, in the beginning we were all beginners, It's and
Mhm,
then no one should dog you for trying. Trying is literally like the best thing you can do. If
mhm.
anything, I love people that try. Just go out of your comfort zone. That's how you grow. You're
Yeah,
not going to grow staying comfortable. But yeah, I think jujitsu in general, like it connects people and we all like resonate with one another because we were all in a similar position. And it's also, I don't know if any of you guys have said this, but jujitsu is like the chess of martial arts as well. Not saying other martial arts aren't chess, but jujitsu is like a lot of chess. Like there's a
it's a
lot of
lot of
grappling and
chess.
maneuver. So
Yeah,
like you have like respect for the other person if they catch you in a similar thing. And it's just all love. It's all love, man.
yeah, no, it's good stuff. Well, I want people to hear that because a lot of times going from stuck to unstoppable literally requires finding your sphere of genius, but oftentimes you find your sphere of genius in your moments of pain, right?
Yeah, whoa.
I'm, you know what I'm saying? That's when we find it. That's when we discover it. And I want the audience to hear that because I think it's so important for them to understand that if they're experiencing pain, they're probably in the process of discovering genius, right?
Exactly.
Whether it's, martial arts or music or gosh, compute, any number of things can become your particular sphere. One of the other most important things I've discovered is the network around you is incredibly important. Now, struggling with the kidney disorder itself. And then obviously now your life is taking a different turn where it's definitely you're constantly growing, you're constantly helping others, you're constantly building what I think is going to be a very beautiful platform out, right? As we're doing all of this, right? How important, if you don't mind me asking, is the network, and how important, what has it been in your life? Like the kind of people that have poured into you, maybe when you did like pouring into yourself.
It's like my lifeline. It's probably top of the food chain, not food chain, but it's top of
Yeah.
it's really there. You're essentially the people you surround yourself with. I don't know if that's the saying, but something like
Yeah.
that. I'm very grateful. I have a great family. My dad helps me out all the time. My sister supports me. My mom's pretty cool as well.
Pretty
And
cool. She's all right.
she's
She's all right.
nice. But
This is being
yeah,
recorded, by the way, so she sees it. She's gonna know you said all right. So
I love you, mom. You're great. But yeah, the people you surround yourself with really make an impact. And if it wasn't for them telling me to go out and try stuff, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. So I feel like your network is essentially your lifeline. And for those that maybe don't have a strong network, that's when like self-drive and the internet comes in. It's crazy. A lot of kids, they haven't had someone look. Sorry, a lot of kids with chronic illnesses sometimes look up to me because they don't have like an older brother or siblings.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful as well, because when they become stronger, I get some love. I love them. It's incredible. Networking is very important. And again, all love. I don't mean to end every answer with all love.
No, I actually think it's a good thing. I was actually going to ask you. I mean, the reality is I think one of the biggest reasons why the world struggles on a daily basis, to be compassionate, empathetic, and whatever, is they're in that selfish zone and they're not looking for the selfless side. It's funny how people who struggle with chronic illnesses and have been challenged with their mortality more than once have a greater perspective of what the world should be like, and how unobservant or oblivious many of other people are, including myself. I'm speaking to myself. I used to be a complete knucklehead, right? As far as appreciating life for what it is and the beauty it brings and all that stuff. If I was to ask you to define love as it relates to impact, right? How would you define love?
Goodness, Stefan with the heavy questions. How would I define love? I guess it's subjective to everyone.
Yeah.
But love is it's like a driving force. It's not necessarily like romantic all the time. It's more so like connection. If you like have a strong connection with someone, that could be a form of love.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we have love going on, man.
Yeah. No, we got much love
for our family, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just overall connection with somebody, something. Yeah, it's all connection.
I mean, I wanted to ask that because the word love is thrown around like literally like you're playing tennis, right? It's like back and forth, right? And I've discovered myself that love is nothing more than the selfishness you apply or don't apply, right? It's you and I are vibing for sure, right? We're having a great conversation. We're gonna inspire some folks that need to hear what they need to hear, and I know that's always going to shake out as long as we have an authentic, like heartfelt, honest conversation, right? And when you mentioned young men and young women who are struggling with chronic illnesses, and they're seeing you as a source of inspiration, they're seeing you as a source of hope. What is it about you or about what you're facing or how you're working through your stuff that you think inspires them? And to me, that's an element of love. So what do you think they see, or what did you see in someone else, for example, that caused you to fight a little forward ahead?
Yeah. So I think when I was growing up, YouTube was just starting to become a thing, but I didn't actually really have anyone. I think I'm going to go back to what you said earlier. Oh no, what did you say? I didn't have anyone.
Serving the person used to be.
Yes, exactly. So that's one of my driving elements. Whenever I put something out there, I'm like, okay, I want to be someone that maybe younger me would have loved to look up to.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, yeah, I was thinking of that. So what was the other part of the question?
I was just saying, when it comes down to it, you're basically what you're saying is it is in fact serving the person you used to be, or serving the person you wish you had.
Yes,
serving the person that, becoming the person you wish you had. Some would say, being the leader you want to follow, right? all of those are different elements to say that, that personal growth at the end of the day is very important, and in your age group right now, I see a lot of people who are, now that I'm older, of course, I saw this the same exact way they did when I was their age. So just for the record, they are not paying close enough attention to what they could be doing to set themselves up for a brighter future. Maybe they could be spending more time or less time off social media or playing video games and more time learning an instrument or making an awesome documentary like In the Shed on Amazon, which is like top rated, like well done. Right. All of these types of things, if they just had a little focused intention, right. I think in a roundabout way, you struggling with the kidney disorder has uniquely set you up to focus on what's really important and focus on what really matters, which means you get to live out your purpose earlier. Would you say that's true?
That was beautifully said. That was incredible. Thanks, exactly. That's sort of like picture perfect. Like what I was about to say. That's
well, I'm not trying to steal your words. I'm just trying to make sure that audience gets it. Like I want them to get it. Cause our audience recently has actually been trending. Has been opening up to younger and younger audiences. Like the youngest person that I've been able to track has been about 13. Our normal audience is, like 20 to like 48, like that kind of the sweet spot. Where we've had some shows like this one, I'm sure that it will kind of blow up because we're talking to we're actually talking to people in that age group, right? Where, your story is going to inspire people because you are in that age group. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I wanted to kind of pivot on, because some people like myself didn't grow up in a great environment from a family perspective. Now that changed as I got older, but, and they may not have that, right? They may not have that network. And I remember when I was searching for mentorship, which I didn't know it was called mentorship at the time. The internet had not even been invented yet, which is crazy. We're talking late 90s is when the internet kind of came about, right? It's crazy to even think about. But nowadays, if I'm struggling with a chronic illness, I don't have a high sense of hope. I don't necessarily know who I am. I keep finding myself sinking back into fear or sinking back into depression. How can I find someone, or what can I do to kind of kickstart myself out of that hole?
Yeah, so this is perfect. I know like it's a very heavy question and heavy circumstances, but maybe the first thing is just reach out to family and friends, make sure you have someone to lean on, make sure you're feeling and reciprocating love. You don't want to be alone on this journey.
Yeah.
And sticking it back to find a passion, find something that'll make you happy, so you're gonna have your friends, your family, and maybe you love painting. Maybe you can paint on the side, and that'll put things into perspective.
Yeah.
But it's a very at least from when people call and tell me that they were just diagnosed with something, it really puts stuff into perspective for them. And naturally, like that's maybe the first thing they do. They reach out to family, and they're always like, Tyler, I don't really know what to do now.
Yeah.
How do I stop myself from sinking? And I'm like, okay, maybe just try and do something you love. Try and search for that. That's always the first thing I tell people to do after they reach out to their family and friends. So I feel like that's the proper direction to take.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm gonna dig in a little bit here because I know we can pull this out for sure. What if I'm not really sure what that is? Like, what do I do then? Like, if I'm not sure what my passion is, maybe I've been kind of, for lack of a better word, sinking into the darkness. And I know that sounds like not good, but I mean, I've watched people that I've loved that struggle with chronic illness sink in and out of darkness and come in and out of it. Right. They sink in, the world's getting bleak. And then something brings them out and they're happy and they're excited and they try something and vice versa. So if one of the major points is to try to find something you love and express yourself, what would be your advice to someone who says, well, I don't really know what that is?
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation and something that also happens a lot.
Yeah.
I got an email, I think like 2 months ago from someone that was diagnosed with something, and they were pretty lost and they were thinking, I don't know what I love. I already reached out to my family, they love me. It's fine, but I don't know what to do. And I just told them to write, just write how they feel. Find a therapist, find someone to talk to. That's very important. I feel like just being able to to express yourself in some degree, whether that be writing or talking,
Yeah.
is at least a step in the door. I know that's not necessarily still like answering your question,
Well,
but I
no, I
feel
mean,
like
it is. I mean, essentially, so so one of the things that I'm trying to do that I do just instinctively or naturally is I'm a person of faith, and I've been given the ability to dissect and break things down, like trying to find the common denominators. So step one, if I'm someone who's struggling with chronic illness, in order not to lose hope and not to fall into the quote proverbial darkness, is to lean on my family and friends. Okay. And if I don't have the right family and friends, maybe I'm going to follow someone like yourself on YouTube, or, through Instagram, or any of the number of channels that you're on. Right. So I can have someone who I feel like understands me or has an essence of understanding. And as I grow there, step number two that I heard you mention is like, begin to like search, like look for something you love. Maybe try something, maybe try to pick up the guitar, maybe try to pick up a saxophone, maybe try to pick up a paintbrush, maybe try to do extra push-ups, whatever you feel, because I know people that are bodybuilders that have, diabetes issues that challenge their life just because of the severity. Right. And, number three was the one I was trying to kind of like really kind of like help people understand. And number three is if you're not sure, just continue to search, like continue to try and search. And I've seen that so powerfully in and around yourself. Your way of connecting with the world, I think, is very unique and very needed. I really believe that. And the more and more I study, and the more and more I study thought leaders like yourself, no matter the age, like I learn from everybody. Like I have never claimed to be the guru, but I do want to make sure that I'm converting myself to a guide long-term. Like I want to become someone who's worthy of the character, and worthy of having people follow, knowing that I'm leading them to a better place, kind of thing. And I see that all over you. Like I see that all over your content, what you do, what you're trying to do.
Thank you.
Now, COVID has been crazy hard and difficult for people all over the world. Right. It's the first time that in my lifetime that I've seen a worldwide event that affects the entire world. Right. This little blue planet, not a little of nowhere. Right. Now, I know COVID has affected you. Let's talk a little about COVID, what you've learned from it, not just from COVID itself, but also like the whole experience as a whole. What have you learned?
That was a very crazy time. I mean, it's still a crazy time. I did a lot of self-reflection, and I found out I really like Shakespeare. I picked up reading. Well, I mean, you always read like for school and stuff, right? I like started reading like for fun.
Yeah.
I started reading Shakespeare for fun, and I found another outlet. I got super into Shakespeare, and I started writing my own screenplays. And
That's so cool.
yeah, that was all during COVID, during quarantine. I just locked myself in my room, and I was like, okay, I know like I have all this free time, and I know I can easily waste it like binge watching 10 Netflix shows. But like, wouldn't it be? I was thinking like when coronavirus is over, and maybe I'm with a group of friends, just like being like, yo, you heard of Todd? Todd picked up karate during Corona. And I was like, that'd be so cool if someone was like, Tyler picked up screenwriting during Corona.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta apply myself. I have so much free time. I've never had this much free time. Let me do something. And I just picked up a book, and then sparks flew.
No, I think that's great because I did I do either through Instagram or through YouTube, depending on how people connect with me. I'll do a Q&A session, from time to time. And, I've been very fortunate. Many of my businesses have not been drastically affected by COVID. I mean, they've been affected, and like I'm actually dealing with more COVID stuff now that's related to last year, just from products and all this kind of stuff I can't get my hands on. But one of the questions that came in from the audience was like, I feel so alone. I feel so isolated. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I can't see my friends. I can't, outside of like doing like a Zoom call or some kind of media, right? What do I do? And you just expressed exactly what I told them to do. I said, increase your value. Increase your value. Make yourself more valuable, right? If learning to write, learning to number one, fall in love with Shakespeare, and then falling in love with screenwriting, that has a level that has a direct level of increase in value. You have a new talent, a new skill that now you can position to, again, do what you do best, which is help people.
it's already come like, it's already helped me help more people come this year. So it was crazy being like, wow, I learned that during COVID and now I'm applying it. It was beautiful.
Well, let's talk about how you applied it, because it's easy for us to say, well, learn a new skill, do a new thing,
Right.
fall in love with something new. Like, how did you apply it? Once you learned it, how did you start applying it?
So things are still in the process now, but I wrote a couple of screenplays, and I guess this is what I'm going to say it now. I have another album done, and I just finished writing a screenplay that goes with the album,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in the middle of filming it right now with friends.
Oh, that's
And
so cool.
it's a crazy thing, like them like asking me about the script that I wrote, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my goodness, this is me coming to life right
Yeah.
now. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I love it, dude. Are you familiar with Kevin Davenport by any chance?
I'm not. I'll write his name down
So
though.
Kevin Davenport is an award-winning screenwriter, screenplay. He functions or works on Broadway. His works have done enormous things. I'm gonna do my best to connect you guys together.
That'd be incredible. I wrote down his name. I'm sorry, Kevin, if you're watching this.
You're his people. Like I had him on the show not too long ago, and he was very much. He's like, my people are screenwriters. They screenplays. They're in Broadway. They're in theater. And he gave me a brand new perspective on theater and media as a whole, right? And so much so that I was taken back. I was like, I honestly haven't given theater enough of a shot to see if I'd really enjoy it. Normally I was the macho guy that the wife would kind of say, let's go watch Wicked. And I'm like, the theater, that's the movie, and people just sing too much. And then we were going to watch Wicked. I was like, that was really awesome. Kind of thing. I'm that guy. But no, I love that. I want to touch base a little bit. In a roundabout way, you've been able to live out some childhood dreams of people that would love to be in your circumstances based on your relationships, maybe not based on some of the trials that you faced. Right. We connected, and I was excited to do so through DDP and the team, like the whole group. What's it been like to grow up around the pro wrestling industry? What have you seen from that has actually really inspired you and encouraged you along the way?
It was insane. And it was one of those things where growing up, I didn't really realize I had it good per se
Mm-hmm.
until maybe I was in high school and I saw kids were being like, they were looking at NWO
Yeah.
old footage, and I'd be like, oh my, that's DDP. And they're
Yeah.
like, of course that's DDP Tyler. Like, yeah, like
no, he's Uncle DDP.
I'd be like, yeah, he's my uncle. And they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
And then like that's when things started. I was like, wow, like I'm very fortunate about this network. They've growing up with DDP, he one of the things he implemented, I mean, we all had to do yoga. It was very
Yeah.
it was a very chill environment. But
if you're connected to me, you will do.
Patience and perseverance were two really big aspects that I gained from him. I remember a lot. We'd go to the park. I'd be like 12, and I just dreaded the yoga positions that I dreaded. Like, I forgot, we did like 10-second push-ups. I don't know if he still does that.
Oh yeah, he still does that. Count them back with me. 9, 8,
exactly.
7. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Slowly decrease. I'd fall each time, and he'd always be like, "Get back up." And I just like, it took the whole day, but eventually, when I did finally get the 10-second push-up down, it was like, "There you go, buddy. Let's go get yogurt." And I was like, "Wow, if I just work hard enough, like I see the goal." And I think even now I still implement that tool.
Yeah. Well, I love patience and perseverance. Let's break those down for just a second. How is being more patient with the process or with your progress help shape and define you and improve you?
There are a lot of different ways I can go with that. Like creatively, sometimes, I write a song, I feel like it's killer. And sometimes I just want to release it on the spot. But then the next day I'm like, I gotta let this marinate. And then next thing I know, that song becomes an album. And then that album takes up 5 months. And then after a year, I finally get it done. And that all started because I was like, let's hold the brakes on this. What do I like about this? And how can I make this become something bigger? So patience is always something that I do creatively with music. And even in jujitsu, it's patience. Sometimes you want to go out and you want to do the craziest move that you just learned because someone's watching, and you're like, let me flex
Let me
on
show
them.
them how awesome I am.
But other times, you gotta. It's much better to just wait and play the patient game and wait for your opponent to get tired and then do the crazy trick. So a higher percentage of nailing it.
Yeah.
But patience is also such a huge thing, because I feel like a lot of people jump the gun too fast. Sometimes people pick up guitar and they tell me, they're like, yeah, I tried to learn this Jimi Hendrix solo, and I was like, that's the first thing you tried to do?
let's try Jingle Bells.
And then a week later they're like, yeah, I sold the guitar, it was too much. And yeah, patience it's an important thing that I feel like a lot of people still gotta learn. I'm still learning it. Sorry, I'm not trying to, I'm impatient. I hate lines. But yeah, it's important.
No, I think it's good. You're, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all. Because I remember when I was your age, I'm already naturally impatient. Even now, like I'm crazy impatient. I'm like, everybody's like, when should it be done? I'm like, now. Like, when can I do it now? Like, it's like my go-to answer. Now I know better, more or less, kind of, sort of, but but I think it's important because, I see a lot of people in your age bracket. My sons are just a little bit younger than you are. Or actually one's about your age and one's a little bit younger. And both of them want to live their amazing life now. And I'm like, guys, to shape and build an amazing life, it takes time. It takes time. It is not easy, right? I know what you're seeing on Instagram. I know what you're seeing on TikTok. I know everybody's got it figured out. And your buddy who's 19 lives in some other state on the West Coast or something, is driving a Lamborghini, and he's telling you he's made $1 bazillion on YouTube, or made $1 bazillion playing video games. And maybe that's true, or maybe he's just borrowing his buddy's car who happens to be his neighbor. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like we want to celebrate the success, but we don't want to celebrate the sacrifice. And one thing I get by studying your career so far, which is still got a long way to go, is this element of celebrating the sacrifice. And I feel like that actually falls directly into what you were saying a minute ago, which is the perseverance side, right? If you persevere long enough, is it not true that you get to celebrate the sacrifice? You get to look behind you. It's like, that journey wasn't as hard as I thought it was, even though I thought it was going to kill me.
Exactly. Too many people, the first question, too many people focus on the end game. They don't really take time to resonate with everything they have done.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It builds character, and it's crazy important.
Well, I know you're like a savant on the guitar, but to be sure, you didn't just pick it up and start playing Hendrix, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah. All right, just making sure.
No.
Well, I wanted to say that because, to pick up a guitar, pick up any instrument, I think, and play it well, it takes both perseverance and patience. And I like how you singled those out, because I think that those are valuable things. I also like the fact that you picked those up from a mutual mentor of ours, right? A mutual person we both admire and respect and care a lot about, to see that actually turn into something special. Right.
It's crazy.
So now I'm just curious. Now, you released a documentary not long ago called In the Shed. Now, yes. I know In the Shed actually has a hidden meaning, which is how you kind of titled it, which I want you to talk about. But I also want you to talk about what possessed you to go and create a documentary and then release it nationally.
So, I'm really honored. My father and I made a documentary called In the Shed. And basically, it's my story on how I grew up with a kidney illness and how I persevere, and hopefully it inspires others. That's one of the main driving reasons we did it, because we wanted to tell my story in the hopes that it would inspire someone else in similar shoes. And it has, to at least from the people that I've heard from. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's crazy knowing that something that you put out is being received in a positive light. Like, I think like the day it came out, like I cried a bit, because it was a pretty emotional thing.
Yeah.
But that's what In the Shed is. It's my story talking about nephrotic syndrome, things I do to overcome it, and just a good vibe overall. A good vibe.
Yeah, it's totally a good vibe for sure. Well, what is now In the Shed has a hidden meaning. What does In the Shed mean?
So I picked this up. One of the high schools I went to was a music high school, and one thing I learned being in jazz band, when we text friends like, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" and they'd be like, "No, sorry, I'm in the shed." And I was like, "What does it mean?" And then took some time. In the shed means no, I'm in my room practicing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So in the shed is like wow, this is sort of ties in perfectly with what we've been saying. It's
Yeah.
all the time you spend behind the curtain,
Mm-hmm.
just working on your craft. That's what in the shed is. It's the things that people don't see.
Yeah.
And the end product is it's what they see, and they don't know that it all happened in the shed.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm grateful that you bring that out, because again, a lot of people, especially nowadays, want to show you the end result, or they only show the end result. They don't show the extra push-ups. They don't show that your fingers bleeding on the guitar, or getting calluses everywhere, or you're in the middle of jamming and a string snaps right smack dab in the middle of like playing something amazing, or you're
oh my
recording something.
goodness.
They don't they don't see your reading. They don't see your writing. They don't see you struggling and having to make the hospital trips and do all that kind of stuff. And if nothing else from today's show, I hope people understand by following your story. And if you have not checked out In the Shed, I'm telling you right now, there's a reason it's an Amazon bestseller or best viewer kind of, you know what I mean? Check it out. It's worth seeing for sure. But on top of that, it's to give yourself permission to be in the shed. Because most people, I don't feel like actually give themselves permission, right? They're just like, well, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. Why? Well, because my friends want to hang out. When you were smack dab in the middle of doing something beautiful or creating something beautiful.
Exactly.
So if we think about that, and we know that could potentially be a struggle, talk about the importance, if you don't mind, of giving yourself the time and permission to be in the shed.
It's it takes a lot of vulnerability with yourself. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the right word. It also takes a lot of discipline. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability and discipline. Those are the two main things that at least for me it took to allow myself to be in the shed and to hear myself play guitar poorly and to stick through it. You have to be vulnerable with yourself and be like, okay, let me really dig down and devote an hour to this. I'm going to turn off my phone. And then it's then it's just patience from there.
Mm-hmm.
You set a game plan, you get rid of all distractions, and you just hone in on it. It's sort of like a meditative state as well.
Mm-hmm.
Super productive, super zen. But being in the shed is a very important thing, and I feel like a lot of people should apply that to their life because it pays off in the end. And there are
Yeah.
a lot of distractions, that's for sure.
True
But
that.
especially with the world opening up again. But it's even if in the shed means just time for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to do anything, but like maybe just like do a self checkup, maybe like
Yeah.
journal. But it's very important that you're very honed in on yourself. I feel like self love is also important. There we go, self love, love again.
See, it's all back to love. It's all back to love, baby. Well, it's I'm glad you said that, because I think it's important for people to understand, not only give themselves permission, but to also try to overcome the anxiousness. And I from my perspective, it seems like if it's not dealt with and kind of faced when you're younger, it goes all the way through your life, which is the sense of, I can't be alone by myself with my own thoughts, with my own stuff, my own reflections and stuff like that. Why do you think that's so scary for people to be by themselves?
Um, well, there's so much noise in the world, especially
Mm-hmm.
with our phones now. It's easy to
Yeah.
get lost in TikTok, just scrolling and seeing like a bunch of people your age bracket doing
Mm-hmm.
so great. I think in some like weird way, then you also feel connected to them. So then when that gets taken away, you have yourself and like you just feel empty because you've given so much of yourself to like this online presence that you don't really know what to do without it. And it's
Yeah.
scary. I mean, many people don't want to face that because they haven't taken the time to find who they are. So that nothingness is very intimidating. And
Mm-hmm.
that's probably one of the bigger reasons why people don't really spend a lot of time reflecting and
Now,
things like that.
did you yourself face that uncertainty when you first started kind of going into the shed, so to speak? Was that something or is that something you naturally gravitated towards?
I didn't really face it. I had friends that faced it. I know,
Mm-hmm.
like, because they attached themselves to like internet personalities. So
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely a weird thing. Um, Basically coaching them to be vulnerable with themselves, but
Yeah.
it's paid off, and I feel it's very important. And I'm very grateful that I haven't been in that position. But
Yeah.
it's a position that you know, maybe sometimes you have to be put in because with uncomfortable situations comes growth, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. In fact, I can't think of anything that's ever grown without becoming uncomfortable or creating or having to go through a transformation to get there. Not one thing, not a
Exactly.
caterpillar, not a butterfly, like not a baby bird, not a puppy, like seriously, like not an adult, like it's all tied together. I think there's this interesting concept. We're talking, I think when I hear the term in the shed, as I've studied it from your career so far, one of the things that I've kind of fallen in love with is the fact that it is you going to be more connected to you, which is kind of odd because some people they hear a concept like go be alone with yourself or whatever, and will end up into more the opposite, which is more the isolation thing. Like they're just isolated, like they pull themselves back from their family, from their friends, people that genuinely love them, and they kind of bleed off into the darkness. Meanwhile, polar opposite, same person going into a quiet place to kind of sit, right? The other person is going into a quiet place and they're using that time to become more of who they're designed to be, where other ones becoming less of who they were designed to be. I'm curious to know, and you may not have an off the top answer. You can totally take your time to think about this. So, um, do you have any idea why one would go in and become and one would go in and, well, start to lack?
There we go. I should have seen this coming. Stefan with the hard questions again. Goodness. It's definitely a situation I've thought about because some people don't necessarily have that discipline to sit down and actually get stuff done. They
Mm-hmm.
sort of just, I don't want to say they wallow, but you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's they lack for better or for worse. And I think that sort of goes into them not necessarily going into it with a game plan or them not necessarily knowing who they are yet. So they don't really know what to do with that time,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, okay, I turn my phone off. I'm gonna sit here now, but what am I supposed to do? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily want to apply myself. So then they just end up, you know, killing an hour and just being sad. And then the hour's
Mm-hmm.
done, they go back on their phone. And yeah, so I think a game plan, having a game plan and really wow, going in on finding something you love, really digging,
Yeah.
really adding value. And it all starts from there. I wouldn't tell people to go in the shed if they don't necessarily have a game plan yet. I feel like
Yeah.
once you know a bit of who you are, and
Mm-hmm.
then once you find a game plan, you should go in the shed. I'm not saying I know who I am. I know who I am to a degree, and that's guided me this far.
Yeah. Well, from studying you, I think you may not know who you are, but you know who you want to be,
There we go. I
right?
love that.
You know who you want to be. So, and I feel like that's the starting point. One of my sons he's 19, and we were having a conversation literally this last weekend, and we're talking. He said, "How do you know I'm?" Because he's doing some graphic design for this particular business of mine, which is the Journey Principles Institute, and he's doing a great job at it. He's like, I want more. He goes, I want to be like, and this made me feel good. He's like, I want to be more like you. Like, I want to be the entrepreneur. I want to do this thing. I said, well, that's the first time I've ever heard you tell me that. Well, it's like, well, I do. I said, well, okay, well, shadow me. You're gonna have to come start sending in meetings that I'm in and seeing how sometimes those aren't very fun, to be honest, right? And but you're shadowing me, which means the shadow doesn't speak in those meetings until you've been invited to the table to speak and some other things like that. And then maybe you and I could spend an hour on a Saturday and I'll teach you about a budget, which is not fun, but necessary kind of scenario. And, I feel like, when I was talking to him, I was like, and he goes, I also think that you need to do one more thing. He's like, what's that? He goes, I think you need to turn the video game machine off. I think you do that to numb yourself. I think you do that to numb yourself. And if you're numbing yourself, you can't be growing yourself. Like it's to me, it comes back to focus. And that's one of the things that I think that you've naturally been gifted towards or been guided towards is this element of focus towards guitar, focus towards jujitsu, focus towards screenwriting. And I'm going to give you a new one that I think you should do. And I'll totally share the actual raw files of this entire conversation because I could see you doing something really amazing with a free mini course of some kind, breaking down, 1 to 5 steps that someone could take advantage of if they're in fact struggling to go into the shed or struggling to go that direction and stuff like that. I could totally see you doing that, and I could see it changing lives. I really
There we
could.
go.
I totally could. So, man, I have loved hanging out with you. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today, dude. It's been phenomenal.
This was incredible and beautiful. You asked perfect questions at a beautiful time.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Well, where can the audience find you? Because I know a bunch of them are going to go watch the documentary. I know a bunch want to go download the albums that you got. Like the guys, he's got a full suite of stuff, and it's all out of love, as you guys probably have guessed. But where can everybody find more about you?
Yeah. So sorry, I was in awe again. In the Shed, you could check it out on Vimeo now. Actually, we wanted to go worldwide, so you could check
Rock
it out there.
on.
In the Shed, Tyler Ransom. You find me on Instagram playing guitar, soulful playing, tylerransom.com, and Tyler Ransom on all music stuff. Where I have my plethora of vibes. Yeah, all love, man.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's amazing, dude. Well, man, thank you so much again. I can't wait to have you back on the show, and every time you get a little new release coming on, and I can't wait to see you again, my friend.
I would be honored, and yes, exactly.
All right, take care, bud. See you. If you love that interview, go ahead and check out this next one right here.
Whenever I feel those moments of shame, and I mean, I feel them multiple times a day. There are times I just got to step back and I got to go, wait, who said that?